Let me ask you guys a question.
Mhm.
As a happily married couple, what are your thoughts on the rise of this whole manosphere and feminism? Because you guys are killing it 20 years in the game married. What are your thoughts on this red pill? Now, I got married 3 years ago, so I was absolutely, completely, 100% into the whole dating pool before I met my beautiful, lovely wife and got out of it. What are your thoughts on this whole rise of feminism, the manosphere, and all this kind of stuff?
The short answer is they need Jesus. That's the short answer, okay? I'm gonna keep on saying it till he comes. But it's it's really sad because I know oftentimes we joke about it, like when we talk, and we're like, dang, like I don't remember it being that bad. Like, before before we got together, and I'm
Right.
just like, what in the world? But the reason why we see the dating market the way that it is for several reasons, but I think two of the biggest reasons is one is the breakdown of the family,
Mhm.
and two, because of the rise of social media.
Mhm.
Social media is a gift and a curse because people are getting the Disneyfication
Mhm.
of relationship, of a life, of everything. Like we watch a lot of relationship based content, obviously, because of what we do. And we were just talking about
Mhm.
Love is Blind.
Okay.
It's a Netflix show that comes out, that comes on Netflix. It's a really good show. The thought process behind it is, can you fall in love with someone without actually meeting them, like seeing them face to face?
Mhm.
And in this show, essentially, they date for like a week or so, but they have a wall in between them. So they never see the person, but they have these dates. Like they're on dates for like 10 hours per day.
They don't know what their bodies look like. They don't know what their
Have
faces look like.
no
Nothing.
idea.
Wow.
They can't tell them, give them any idea. I mean, they can probably guess certain things maybe by like their name, their ethnicity, and stuff like that. They can even tell them their ethnicity, like none of that. And basically, within that 10-day span or whatever, the thought process is, if they fall in love with them, will they propose basically to get married? And they're supposed to get married basically within 2 months. So after basically they propose and everything like that, then they do finally get to meet each other, and then they get whisked away to go on this honeymoon kind of get to know you vacation before they get to know each other for real and then get married, right? We were just talking about, it's funny because oftentimes they set up dates for one another. They set up dates. It's
Mm.
the show that
Right.
sets up the dates, but it'll be like real lavish. Like they'll be like off on the beach, and they'll have like thousands and thousands of flowers, all these like really fancy get ups. And it's just like a candlelit dinner for the two of them. And you see this kind of stuff like online. I said all that to say, like, you see all this kind of stuff on social media, oftentimes from people who live that lifestyle, like people who are got money, like rich and stuff like that. And you see that and you're like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to have. And it's just like, that's not normal.
Right.
Like life is not, oh, I'm going on yachts every other weekend, like most people, that's not happening.
Right.
So it's just sad. I'll stop right there and I'll let Jay go. But yeah, it's just.
Yep, definitely.
I think for us, I was introduced to the manosphere as a bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, blue-pilled man. I walked into this thing and I didn't know what was happening to me. I was like, well, this is interesting. What is this video talking about? I'm watching relationship videos because I'm gonna be honest, the stuff that I watch now is completely different from what I watched 3 years ago. I was in a completely different space. Before we were doing this channel, I was doing music. So if you look through my YouTube feed, it was like production tips and this is how you mix and audio engineering this. And I was there. I was completely in a different space. As a matter of fact, one time you were looking at Love is Blind.
Yes.
And she was like, babe, you want to watch the show with me? I was like, what is it? She was like, it's called Love is Blind. And I was like, what is it? And then she told me what it was. And I was like, hell no, I don't, why I would do that. I'm going to go upstairs in the studio and I'm going to go and make some music. That's what I'm going to do. I don't know what you're talking about. So now doing the show, I'm in a completely different space. So I was introduced to this thing. And in the middle of watching some of the things that I saw, I was watching MTR, Mediocre Tutorials and Reviews. I was watching him, and I was like, okay, this is different. I ain't never
Hey,
heard
he's one of the cleaner ones, actually. He's actually one of the he's actually one of the cleaner guys.
Yeah, because see, you know what the algorithm did to me, right? It was all on purpose because they saw the stuff I was watching, so they slowly introduced me.
Got to get you.
They slowly introduced me to this thing, and then I came across a gentleman, a distinguished gentleman who presented himself as one of the cleanest brothers I have ever seen in my life. And I was like, oh, I like this guy. He got his suited up. Look at his background. And I keep staring at this thing going round and
Brother
round.
Samuel's the Godfather.
And so I was like, and he said some of the most outrageous things I had ever heard in my life at that point, because I blue-pilled, bright-eyed from the church. So, and then I got what they call red-pilled. Changed my life. Still trying to figure out if for the better or for the worse, but it changed because I was already happily married. And you know what happened? Started having these conversations with my wife while we're shooting the show. And she was like, and I was like, so you mean to tell me that all this time you ain't want to be like even? I thought, we was gonna be we wanted to be on the same exact because we wanted to make decisions together, sit down, make a list, and do things like that. You wanted me to leave? She was like, yeah, I did. I was like, oh, okay. We got to make some changes then. I think that the manosphere and how it exists, and people are asking, is it a good thing? I'm not going to say that it was a bad thing at all. I don't consider myself truly red pill. I don't think they'll let me in the club. I applied and I just ain't hear nothing back. So I'm assuming that they denied my application. So it was like, this dude already married, man. You can't, you might be able to be purple pill. You can't be red. So I was sitting there and one of the things about them, it is a necessity. It had to happen because of the society that feminism set up, and that a lot of people bought into it because they come into it under the guise of, we want to be equal. What's so bad about that? Right. And that's the guise. But then when you start breaking down some of the things they say and some of the things that are normalized,
destroy the patriarchy.
Yeah, the patriarchy and all of these things that they say, you start to be like, wait, we're not talking about equality, y'all. This is not what. And then they started to say things that clicked about what men and women really want. And they started saying things that me and my boys always said, but never thought about why we said them. We didn't understand why we gave certain women value, certain women that we didn't think were of value. And I started to be like, oh my gosh, a lot of this is true. Like, it's so much true. Then you got people that just exist solely to, they say dunk, dunk on women, and who take it way left, just like feminism. I don't have any problems with women wanting to be equal, but you have to understand you can be as equal as you want, but men are not going to see you differently because of you being equal to me. Like, we're not.
Because you have a master's degree that's not going to make you sexy. I'm sorry. Oprah is never going to be hot to me. She's a billionaire. I love what she's doing, but she's never going to be hot to me. Simple as that.
It's not. And it's one of those things, when I started seeing the truth of it, I was like, okay, so it's not so much, for me, it's not so much about the manosphere or the red pill community being about I guess whether people like it or not, or whether we be like, oh, because we have this nice peaceful asleep society. The reality, it was a necessity, because at some point guys were going to stand up after being kicked and stomped on, and they were going to say something. It wasn't going to last forever. And for me, it has very much changed my life, the way that I move in my family. Certain things we were already doing, we didn't know why though, and certain things we were not. And it sort of put into perspective the things that raised my wife's eyebrow and why they do. I mean, the reality is, being red pills is just about acknowledging the truth. Now, depending on your experience, will tell whether you get what they call black pill. Are you gonna go way to the left? I'm gonna just call them out. Are you gonna fresh and fit it? And are you gonna have a lot of pleasure just dunking on women left and right? Or are you gonna see things for how they are and be like, oh, this is the world that we live in, and I'm gonna move in it in a way so that I can be of best use to the God who has put me here to serve a purpose.
Right.
So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think that it was more of a necessity than anything else. But just like anything else, especially with like even comparing the manosphere to the feminist movement, there are people that just go way left and they turn it into something that it was not originally intended to be.
Yeah.
So
we're both content creators. You guys do phenomenal work at the J&O show. I think I would like to say good work with Financipation. And you guys know what I'm about to say when I say this. If I do a video talking about HSAs and Roth IRAs and real estate investment trust and drip accounts for my 401ks, or I want to convert from one into another, or brokerage accounts or whatever, it does not get traction, at least not to the extent that I think that it should for the level of importance that it is. Period. But if I talk about I met this girl is on OnlyFans. This is what her account looks like. She's trash. She's scum. She's a low value woman. She belongs to the streets. If I say those kinds of words, it's very sad, but my algorithms shoot through the roof. So we are incentivized, particularly as Black people, to sell poison to our communities and to just be outlandish and say crazy stuff. And if there's one thing that I loved about Kevin Samuels, God rest the Godfather. People always talk about the sensational stuff that he said. To me, Kevin Samuels was never a very sensational guy. I've said this in other podcasts that I've done. Nothing he said was surprising to me. He talked to me the exact same way my father talked to me. He talked to me the exact same way my grandfather talked to me. The stuff he says is how the men that I grew with talk to me, or whatever, as far as what you don't have to tolerate from a woman, and what, as a man, what your role as a Black man in society is supposed to be able to do. But to me, Kevin Samuels talked more so about building the Black family and about financial literacy. What's life going to look like for me from 65 to 85? A lot of these channels out there, I'm not going to give a shout out, but you know which ones I'm talking about. It's just trash. It's like it's a trash, low value show. They basically just rehash the same crap because it drives up their algorithms, and it sounds really good or whatever, just bad mouthing and belittling women. It sounds really good, but to me, it's not moving the community forward. And in regards to the feminism thing, Jermaine, I agree with you completely, bro. At some point, men were going to start saying, no, we're not going to tolerate this crap anymore. I refuse to sit back and be told as a heterosexual man that I need to be comfortable dating a 300-pound baby mama with 4 or 5 other dudes' kids, period. That to me is what there's a movement right now to tell men, no, you need to be comfortable raising another man's seed, which is ridiculous. You need to be perfectly, if that's what you want to do that. But it's like there's this incentive to tell Black men, you need to basically raise another man's kids. And the woman you need to basically marry is 300 or 400 pounds or whatever, like certain artists that are out here, and basically just have absolutely no class or whatever. And as men, eventually we're gonna be like, no, I will not do that. So to me, there was definitely going to be a pushback. And on top of that, as a mechanical engineer and a guy who deals with numbers and finance, I live in the real world. So as it boils down to it, children that grow up in single parent homes, statistically speaking, are 4 times more likely to go to prison.
yes.
Women that grow up in single mother homes are 7 times more likely to be pregnant before they're 18 or whatever. 90% of homeless kids basically and runaways, they come from single mother homes. 70% of high school dropouts come from single mother homes, and 60% of youth suicides come from single mother homes. And if you take a look at it, as African Americans, we all Black folks or whatever, whether it's the Caribbean or America, the number one ways, if you read slave manuals or whatever, the number one way they basically had to keep Black people in slavery was to take the man out of the house. And to me, modern day feminism has nothing to do with empowering women. It's completely about destroying the patriarchy and taking the man out of the house. So I agree with you. I don't like either extreme. I don't like the men talking about women are property and they belong to this, this, and this, and they have no rights, and we should just basically smash them and keep them, smash and dash and keep it moving. And I also don't like the other extreme that's misandry, that's basically misandry and says men are scum and you can't trust them or whatever. To me, as a happily married man, I think that there is a medium ground, whatever. And I think that I like you guys' show because you guys talk about what that medium ground is like. What's it like to have a healthy marriage or whatever? What's it like to basically be in a committed relationship with a woman who loves you and who has your back? What's it like to be in a committed relationship with a man who loves you, who has your back? So that's why me and my wife enjoy watching you guys' show, because that's the kind of stuff that you guys talk about, and I love it. I love it.
Absolutely. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, man.
I was just gonna say, you said something just now that struck a chord. You said that if you were to read a slave manual, the number one way to destroy the family is to take the man out the home. Did y'all hear that? Like that literally gave me chills. And it's just like, wow, like we don't even, it's sad because we as a people unfortunately don't even realize that it's like we're enslaving ourselves all over again. Like we're doing it to ourselves.
Yeah.
By basically doing the same thing. Ripping the man out the home.
Right.
That's why I push back on the women that say, I don't need a man, I'm a strong, independent woman, I'm this and that. I can't tell you how many women I've worked with in corporate America who refused to get married. Basically, they wanted a hot girl, summer it up. And now they're 45 or 50, working 80 hours a week, making $42,000 a year. But the white and the Latina and the Indian women they work next to are only working 30 hours a week. They still make $42,000 a year, but they're happily married and they're raising their kids. Feminism, it played our women, period.
Yes,
like hip hop played black men. It told us to sell drugs and go to prison, and you can get all these girls. As an educated black man, I can tell you, I got more girls than any thug I ever hung out with, period. So to me, it's just kind of like we've been played as a people. Feminism has played us and hip hop has played us. And Anika, it's very interesting you say that about the slave manuals and what it did. So my father was a very outspoken, very loud and proud black man. And he had me reading stuff like the Willie Lynch letters when I was like 7 or 8 years old. So I'll say the PG version of Willie Lynch letters. Basically, that letter was basically said, this is what you do. Find the biggest, strongest, toughest black buck that you have. Take him out, bring out all the slaves, tie him to a tree, strip him naked, and in front of his wife and his kids, beat him basically to death in front of his kids. Then you find the second biggest black buck that you have in your plantation, bring him forward, beat him within an inch of his life, but don't kill him because you only want to kill one of your smart black bucks or whatever. Beat the second one nearly to death in front of his wife and kids. And if you do that and you keep doing that repeatedly or every other year or whatever, you're going to keep basically black people in check because you're going to take the father out of the home. And then you're also going to let the woman know that she can't defend her, that he can't defend them. That was essentially one of the things they did to kind of break black people. So when I see modern day feminism, I see chicks talking about they want to rely on the government. They don't need a man. They're strong and independent or whatever. They don't care who they lay with because men are going to step to the plate and pay these bills or whatever. We're doing the same crap that basically was done to our ancestors 150 years ago. And that's why I'm glad you guys' channels exist because you're saying no, this is foolishness. We're not gonna tolerate this kind of crap. And that's why I enjoy hearing you guys' content. Yeah,
thank you very much.
Wow. That's crazy. And you know, it's the good book says that my people are destroyed for their lack of knowledge. And I'm so glad that your father had wisdom to be able to educate all of you, you know what I'm saying, by giving you that information early on to help you understand how you can break down the family so that way you can do the opposite. Make sure that you're there in the home to be able to take care of yours and to take care of your family, because that's the best way in order for you to be successful in life is for you to be able to be there and be hands-on, you know, in your family, in your child's life and in your spouse's life. So